Chapter 5 is where we finally get to ray trace in this ray tracing challenge. The end goal of the chapter is to be able to produce rays that hit a sphere and then draw an image based on the hits versus the misses, while also being able to transform the location, size, and rotation of the sphere using matrix inversion. I start off creating the ray class, which will hold the origin of the ray as a point, and a vector for the direction. Ray contains a method called position, used to calculate a point some distance along the ray, which will be used in determining where intersections take place. The first test in the chapter is to create a ray and use the position method to determine where we are along the ray based on different values. Next is the sphere class, the object in the scene we're going to do intersection tests against. Interestingly, we assume the sphere is always at the origin and of unit size, or size of 1, which makes the intersection tests a lot easier. Each sphere needs to have a unique identifier. I'm not sure why yet, but the book tells you to make sure that's something you implement. So for now, I go ahead and create a member called ID, and it's incremented with the creation of each individual sphere. This isn't a foolproof method of making sure I have unique IDs across scenes and possibly saved states, but it's going to work for the moment. The next test is for a ray-sphere intersection, and for a sphere there are 2 intersection points, one at the front and one at the back. Even if the hit is at the very edge of the curve, we're still going to return 2 intersections just at the same point. I do struggle a bit with this due to a small error on my part where I forgot a critical set of parentheses in the intersection equation. What made this difficult to debug was that the answer I got was a multiple of the proper answer. That is, when I converted it over into a position, it matched the answer in the book exactly. This made me a little crazy because it seemed like I was missing something fundamental, but in reality, it was just some funkiness with the numbers and a couple parentheses that I missed. I even went so far as to go to the website and check for errata to make sure I was doing the right thing, or maybe someone had messed this up on the other side. There are several tests that need to be done to make sure everything is working, with the ray in front of, inside, behind, and if the ray is completely missing the sphere. When evaluating, negative values should indicate the intersection is behind the ray, and they'll be completely ignored later on. I do a mental sanity check to make sure I'm not doing anything wrong, which I am, but really here I'm just trying to determine if the values I get are correct. It's always a good idea to work through a problem when you're having issues. I do some console line writing to determine what the values are actually going to be. Yes, we could have just debugged this stuff if we wanted to, but sometimes it's just easier to just print stuff out to the screen, especially when you're dealing with loops of small-sized elements. These intersection points are our T values, or distances along the ray. Don't confuse them with the actual world position values, which would be points. At some point, I must have read a little bit and realized I'd probably have lots of different object types with their own methods of intersection. To make my life easier, I create a base class called RayObject, which all intersectable objects will derive from. It will be RayObject's job to give unique IDs to any object in the scene so that we don't have any clashing. It also gives me a base class container for iterating over objects and storing them in the same list. If you're following along with the book, at this point you may wonder if I jumped ahead to ray transforms without finishing the intersections, and you would be right. Between coding sessions, I am forgetting where I am coding versus where I'm reading, and I jumped a bit ahead in the chapter. No real harm, but testing ray transformations is relatively easy and just requires multiplying by a matrix. Problem is, I've only implemented multiplication overloads for matrices, points, and vectors. I'll need to make something easy for matrix multiplication against rays. I have a small glitch in my test because I jumped the gun and automatically multiplied by the inverse. Getting rid of that inverse solves the transformation problem. The next class holds intersections, which store the object intersected and the t-value of intersection for the ray. Once again, thinking ahead, I decide to globally store all the objects in the scene in a list of ray objects. Once I create a more formal system, this will be all automated in the ray object class, but for now we'll have to manually add them. I don't want to make too many assumptions early in this book about how things will be stored. At some point I should probably read ahead and see what the heck's going on, but that's going to ruin some of the fun. I decided to make the intersection method in Sphere a base class abstract method to force any future classes I create to implement that intersection test. The intersection method returns a list of all intersections in the scene against all scene objects. It's about time to test intersections, creating a ray against a sphere and having all the intersections returned. The hit method is different from intersection because we're no longer concerned with all intersections, just the closest one. That closest intersection will be what I render out to an image, assuming no reflection or transparency yet. This does require sorting the intersections for all greater than or equal to 0 values. Yeah, I make a small error, and I switched from greater than to less than sign, and that fixes everything. The challenge for the chapter is to draw a sphere based on hits and misses. The image will be flooded with black pixels at start, and whenever a hit is detected against the sphere, a red pixel will be drawn. To make this work, we need both the start and end point of each ray. The start is the origin, which is our camera, so to speak. The end is an imaginary wall, which is divided up based on the number of pixels in our image. I create rays from the origin to the center of each wall pixel, checking if there is a hit and drawing accordingly. Once again, I do a mental sanity check and draw out what is in my head to make sure the math makes sense. Everything looks good. Time to move on. I get a null reference error due to a decision early on to return a null rather than an empty list. This may have performance implications later on, but for now, I decided to change things so that I return an empty list, so that all of my iterations still work without having to add an extra check. The second part of the challenge is transforming the ray based on the inverse matrix of the sphere. The challenge has the sphere scaled, rotated, and sheared. But since every intersection test is at the origin with a sphere of unit size, all these transforms have to be inverted and applied to the ray instead. Alright, I do mess this up at first, forgetting to multiply by the inverse of the matrix, making all of my transforms the opposite of what I expect. Whoops. To show all the results, I create a composite in Photoshop of the various iterations, with each subsequent layer at 50% transparency. And that was Chapter 5 of the Ray Tracer Challenge. From what I've seen, Chapter 6 is where we get into basic lighting, using the dot product to evaluate diffuse and specular information on the sphere. Remember, if you're following along in your own programming language, feel free to comment below and let me know how you're doing. I'll see you all next time. So long, goodbye.